juvenile prison in Surulere. So they are actually at various prisons. They were brought into the court today to hear their application for bail.
First and foremost, Mr. Ogbodo, I must say that you shared your heartbreaking story last week, and I must say that your courage in seeking justice and your resilience in the face of loss have been truly inspiring. Well done, and thank you for being here again. I remember last week you made a shocking revelation, and you just mentioned again that the caregiver, one of the caregivers, who is an underage child. Did you say 15-year-old?
She's a 16-year-old girl.
16.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
No, allegedly, she's 16 years.
16.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, this is a fault, a very big fault within the education system. And underage, I know of countries that do this. I've done a bit of research on that, but I don't think this is appropriate. Madam Dorothy, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. I'm here, Zina.
Would you want to come in at this point from what he has said in any way at all?
Okay.
Before I come into the grave talks.
Oh, okay. I will. So once again, I'm sorry for your loss, and I pray that you find justice. I know that justice is not going to bring your child back, but justice will help prevent future occurrence of such things. Because one of the things that I know that, especially in this part of the world, that we usually do, which is usually pressure from either family or, our religious bodies or something, just say, just leave it to God. Whether you sue them or you take them to court, it's not going to bring the child back. And then people are like, actually, even if they jail them, even if they kill them, my child is not coming back. But then I always love to tell people that you're not doing it because it will bring your child back. You're doing it so that you can help prevent further occurrence of such acts from especially people that we've entrusted our children into their care. So for me, I applaud these steps. It's not easy. It's never easy because it's like you reliving the tragedy over and over again when you go through a court case. But then again, you're doing it for the greater good. So thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you for that submission. Lagos, you just heard the voice of certified grief educator Dorothy Ursay, trauma-informed care practitioner certified in emotional intelligence and anger, and she has been invited on various platforms and media outlets to speak on grief recovery and support system. All right, and she's also a legal practitioner with over 17 years post-call experience and specialty in legislative drafting. So she understands the legal aspect, the investigation, the seeking justice. She does understand all of that. Now, Mr. Ogbodo, I don't even know where to go right now. So when you met the underage nanny again today at the court, and as a father who is currently grieving, what came to your mind? Maybe not even the proprietor at this point. As human.
Yeah, when I saw the young lady, she's by name Habibat, and I looked at her and I saw how young she actually looks. And I now approached the proprietor and I told him that your engagement of this lady, this young lady who actually needs to be nannied, she needs a nanny in her life, because if you look at her, you know that she's someone that really needs to be taken care of. That your engagement of this lady is responsible for the demise of my daughter. That if you had engaged a more mature person, someone who has children and knows how to take care of children, my daughter wouldn't have passed by now. And he was just apologizing, because if I look at her, I saw that it was a mistake from her, based on her ignorance, based on her lack of knowledge in terms of children's care. That's what resulted in allowing my daughter to wander away and then get drowned in the swimming pool, as they alleged, because unfortunately I couldn't have access to the CCTV camera. We were told that the camera that was overseeing that aspect of the compound, that is the pool site, that it was not functional. So we couldn't have a view of what really transpired. But sometimes I want to just believe that she was drowned, and so many things running through my mind, but I cannot get the reality because we could not access the CCTV camera. We are just working based on what they have told us.
Still unable to access. But what is the police saying in that regards, with regards to not being able to access the CCTV camera? We are going back to Grave next.
Yeah, I think the police reprimanded them for not having the camera functional, because there are a lot of cameras. A lot of cameras overseeing that area, at least like 2 or 3 of them. But none of them is actually functional, and the police reprimanded them. And the man said that the camera had some technical issues. They've been reaching out to the person in charge to come and fix them, and then the person has not been coming. And then we now wonder that why do you have, that you have toddlers in your school, and then your cameras are not functional, and then you are admitting them into your school? There are a lot of mysteries around this, and sometimes I felt like they tamper with the camera to just conceal evidence. And also, it may be that the camera is not working. I cannot tell, because I brought the forensic expert in camera installations and all of that. He came and he was able to get us to see the frontage, the car park area of the school. That was the only functional camera we could access. But anything that has to do with the classrooms, the swimming pool area, the playground, and other places, the cameras were not working. And they have over 10 cameras in that school. And just 1 or 2 function, and those ones were overseeing the car park and the administrative block. So it's actually very disheartening that you have a school that people paid a lot, hundreds of thousands, and then you cannot fix camera because the camera would have really shown us exactly what happened, and then we have some closure. But now we are just assuming, because I felt like maybe the nanny must have, maybe my daughter provoked her and then she threw her into the swimming pool. It can happen like that.
I'm sorry.
On a very serious note, I could assume.
Yes, I doubt she would have done that. Anything could have happened, Anything could have happened, but let's not assume, we still have a lot of conversation around this. Now, I would love to ask you, how have you personally coped with the grief? What has helped you get through the darkest moments?
I have not gotten through it, and I don't think I can get through it, because it's something that you just live with. Yeah, I used to come back to my daughter calling me daddy, run close to me. I'll just pick her up and then we play and all of that. Those things are normal. I just come to the house and my house is as quiet as a graveyard. It's not something that you can just get over. It's something that you live with. And I have made up my mind to live with it. It's a reality. Sometimes I live in a kind of illusion that maybe she's somewhere, she's traveled, or she's with my maybe sisters or somewhere, but then every day it keeps on letting me know that this is something that has happened, and then I'm not going to see her again, and it's actually a traumatizing mindset.
I know.
So I'm actually living with it, not that I will ever be able to overcome it.
Needless to ask whether you felt completely overwhelmed at any point because you are still grieving. Now, let me go back. Let me come to our educator in the house. Dorothy, you've worked with grieving parents every day. What are some of the most common emotions they struggle with?
So one of the toughest, deepest emotions that parents experience when they lose a child is first that shock, because it's surreal, it's unnatural. You as a parent, you're supposed to be the one that your child will bury and not the other way around. So it's an unnatural order of things when you as a parent have to bury your own child, because in the natural order of things, the child is supposed to bury the parent. So usually it's that absolute shock that this could happen. And then it now comes with the denial, or because it's like it's unreal. It's surreal to you, like it did not just happen. And then comes guilt, because you start questioning, what did I do wrong? What did I not do that I was supposed to do? Should I have taken her to this school? Should I have been more vigilant? Should I have been, like, in this case, should I have been following up with the camera system to be sure it's working? Even for things that are outside your control, you tend to, just ask questions, and then the guilt just keeps growing up. So there's guilt and there's regret. Because that's when you remember that, when I wanted to take her to this school, someone said this other school is better, but I insisted on this school for whatever reason. We now start trying to question every decision we've taken surrounding what happened and what led to the death of that child. So even if the child died in your arms, you will still question yourself. Were there signs I did not notice? Should I have called the doctors earlier? Should I have stayed longer in the hospital? So many questions. And that's one of the biggest and deepest emotions of parents that are grieving, because you stay in that guilt and regret because you're their caregiver, you're the person that is supposed to protect them, you're their protector. And it's like you failed at a job that you were supposed to do.
No.
So we cannot dismiss that aspect of it, that when parents are grieving, there are a lot of questions around why, the how, the, all around that.
Yes. So,
and one thing that people that are around parents that are grieving tend to do is they try to say, no, don't feel like that. It's not your fault.
Okay.
And so what that does is that it invalidates how the parents are feeling.
Now, I would love to now put this question to you. What are the first steps someone can take when they feel lost in their grief? Because you did mention that, you stay in that grief, so many unanswered questions. So what are the things that one can do, like in the case of Mr. and Mrs. Obodo? By the way, Mrs. Obodo is a nursing mom at the moment. So I can tell how overwhelming that could be
for her. So I think that some of the steps that parents can take in this situation is just to get yourself to a place where you accept that some things are actually out of your control. I'm sure for any parent that has been in the lives of their children, let's say first 5 to 7 years, you know that even when you're watching them like a hawk, before you know it, they've touched something dangerous. They're climbing things, they're taking knives, they're putting their hands inside the fan, they're touching boiling water, even when you're watching them like this. So I think that you just give yourself grace while grieving and just accept that some things are actually out of our control. We cannot control everything, even if we're there present. Even if you were with the child in the classroom or in the school that day, it could still have happened. It's a possibility. So I think not just for parents, but everybody that is grieving, once you're able to offer grace to yourself, which is a very difficult thing to do anyway. So it's not as easy like, offer grace, be kind to yourself, and then you just go ahead with it. But if you're able to come to a place where you're able to offer grace to yourself and tell yourself, I'm not perfect. I'm not God. God is all seeing and all knowing. I'm not God. I'm not all seeing. I'm not all present. I'm not all knowing. But I did my best in the best way I could do humanly possible. I think that's the first step to navigating the loss and all those emotions that are coming up for you.
Thank you for that. Because of time, I would still love to ask a question on what Mr. Obodo could be doing, or even Mrs. Obodo, some of the things they could do daily to help them cope, as well as other grieving parents listening to us in the house right now, because this is about turning pain to purpose. We don't want to keep reeling in tragedy. I know it's hard, it's hurtful, Mr. Obodo. But right now, before I take another break, do you feel supported right now? Do you feel the society? Do you feel Nigeria as a society? Do you feel Lagos as a society support you right now with the way you and your family feel?
Yeah, thank you very much, Zainab. We really feel supported, especially from the media houses. We've had a lot of support. And it's not all about supporting us per se that I'm even looking at, but part of what I am
emotionally.
Part of what I and my wife actually plan to do is to ensure that people do not lose their children in schools anymore. And that has to do with a number of a kind of awareness that we want to create. Because if you look at it, basically, you realize that the people do not have anybody who is specialized in CPR in the school. And when someone drowns, you need an expert who could do CPR.
At all.
There is no sick bay, nothing. In such an advanced school, they do not have those facilities. So we decided to register a foundation, the Raphaella Foundation. And the basis is that my wife is actually, as a physician, she's an advanced CPR expert. And we plan to ensure that most of the schools have those trainings. That's part of what we want to do. And creating awareness on how not to employ underage staff in a school. We are planning to work with the Lagos State government. We have met with the commissioner for education, that's for secondary and primary education. We have met with him, and then we told him that we are going to come up with some of the things that we feel that should be formulated into policies that should be implemented in schools. So we are working through the foundation. We plan to help Nigerians to ensure that their children are safe in school, providing a safe environment for our toddlers that go to school. So you don't sit at home, your child will not be picked from the house in the morning, and then you are called in the evening that she has passed as a result of maybe a very wicked nanny or a wicked teacher who must have hit her or him, or that she has drowned or something else, that it doesn't happen again. And we have made it as a point of duty to ensure that our daughter becomes the last person that dies in the Lagos or in Nigerian school. And that's what we are actually committed to do now.
It's doable by God's grace. I love the fact that even in the midst of the grief, you are still channeling a cause. Thank you for that. Thank you. May God strengthen you. We're proud of you. Madam Dorothy, now let's talk about things grieving parents can do daily to help cope.
Okay, one of the things that grieving parents can do daily to help them cope is they can keep saying their child's name. They can talk about the child. They can remember all the joy that that child brought into their lives, no matter how short the child was with them. They can still talk about the child, because one of the things that we found out over the years is that when you speak about the person that has died and you recall all the things that the person did and the person was to you, somehow it helps you keep the memory of that child alive. It doesn't mean that you're stuck, because like you said, Mrs. Obodo is nursing right now, another child. So it's easy for people to just say, at least you have another child. The child will compensate, or the child will cover up or make up for the child you've lost. But the child that has died is an individual, a whole human being that cannot be replaced as if it was your key or your pen that got missing and you just go to the market and you buy it. So keeping the memory of that child alive is very, very important, because it keeps you close to that child, and then it doesn't totally feel like a loss, because once you keep the memory of that child alive, you've not lost that child. Physically, that child is not with you, but the memories, all the joyful things, the coming back home of Mr. Agbodo and hearing daddy, it gives him some form of comfort that the memory of this my child is still alive. So I'll encourage Mr. and Mr. Agbodo to keep, and I like the fact that he spoke about starting a foundation in his child's name. That's a very, very profound step. It's a very, very good step, because what that does is all the emotions that comes up for them, they will channel it towards making sure that this foundation does the right and that it flourishes.
All right. If this isn't coming from a professional like you, keeping the memories of the child and mentioning the child's name, I personally would have thought that it may weaken, a parent, it may weaken them emotionally, psychologically. The fact that you are remembering, you are mentioning the names, you're trying to remember everything around about the child. But you are saying no, the reverse is the case, right? All right, thank you so much, Mr. Obodo. What's your thoughts on that in 30 seconds, if you can, on what she said?
Yeah, I think.
Do you find it practicable?
Yes, and that is the basis for the foundation, Raphaella Obodo Foundation, because her name was a name that came up and something that we really loved. We gave her the name, and then we really don't want the name to just be gone. So most of the time, we actually discuss her.
All right.
Like the wonderful moments we had with her, and then the wonderful times and some of her characters, the traits that were very impressive. She was a very intelligent, beautiful, and she was a very interactive young lady.
All right, thank you. Lagos would love you to be a part of this conversation. When we come back from this break, 020127709993, you can as well drop us your message on WhatsApp. All right, Lagos will be right back right after this time. I'll stay here.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
All right, Lagos, thank you so much, Kemi, for that. Lagos, we are back on Maternity Line Show, and we have just about a minute plus to go. I got this one from Rachel. Rachel says, good afternoon, Zainab, and well done to Mr. Obodo. May God Almighty continue to strengthen him emotionally. I love his mindset, and say hi for me to Madam Dorothy. She's doing a great job. Thank you so much, Rachel. Okay, this one is coming from Ridwanullah. Ridwanullah says, good afternoon, Zainab. Well done. I love the energy you put into this for people to learn one or two. Nice idea, bringing the grave educator. Well done. Mr. Obodo, may God Almighty continue to strengthen you and your family. Please accept my sincere empathy. All right, thank you so much, Ridwanullah. We're about to go. Madam Dorothy, I would love to have you again on Maternity Line Show. We do have a caller. Let me see if we can pick this call. Good afternoon, Nigeria Info.
Yeah, good afternoon, Zena.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Bodo, good afternoon. I'm sorry for your loss. May the soul of the baby rest in peace. Zena, I agree with Madam. 2 days ago, I was sharing a story about my wife. September this year will be 11 years. But I will talk story about her. Like the madam said, how we live, how funny,
Make it so happy, you have to go.
Yes, that is what I do. And some people will call and say, Mr. Chris, wait till your wife had died. Stop talking about it. No, I will not.
All
so
right.
I agree with that madam. Just 2 days ago, I was telling a story about how I live with my wife. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lagos, we are sorry we are not able to take more calls right now as it's time for the news at 1. Madam Dorothy, thank you so much for giving up your time to be here today, virtually anyway. May God honor you. I'll be back again. You will be back again on Maternity Line Show. Okay, we can hear your voice.
You.
Okay, all right. Have a great afternoon, Friday afternoon. All right, Mr. Obodo, thank you so much. May God continue to strengthen you emotionally. Yvonne Haifo is here, Mr. Obodo.
Thank you very much, Zainab, and thank you to Lagos for the support and the condolence messages.
All right, thank you.
God bless you all.
All right.
Update on 99.3 Nigeria Info.